literary fiction is a bit of a loose term. For me, it's really any book I can't easily categorize as something else, and that I could see being the book of the month for a typical book club, or that NPR would probably highly recommend. I guess you could say these are books that could be considered modern classics. It's kind of a catch-all category for me, so prepare to be surprised and skeptical of my categorizations. For example, Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. I think very few people would categorize this as literary fiction. Some people seem to categorize it as horror, but from what I've heard about it, it doesn't seem to be really fully horror. But I would consider it a modern classic. So, ta-da! It is on my literary fiction TBR. Mainly, I just need to read some Stephen King. I read On Writing and I loved it, but then I tried It, and that was a bad place to start. I got about 100 pages in and was like, I cannot go on. This seems like a better place to start for me, I think, right? Next on my literary fiction TBR is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. This is one of those books I am really ashamed to admit I haven't ever read, so I am looking to remedy that. Apparently it's about a movie so entertaining that you don't want to do anything but watch it, and you end up dying from watching it endlessly. It's supposed to be a commentary on entertainment and philosophy and human connection, and oh god, it is over 1,000 pages, but I will read this book. We Were the Mulvaneys by Joyce Carol Oates. This was an Oprah Book Club selection, which is also for me a telltale sign that something belongs in the designation literary fiction. It is, and I quote the description, the tale of a family struggling to cope with its fall from grace into a deeply moving and unforgettable account of the vigor of hope and the power of love to prevail over suffering. Joyce Carol Oates is one of the great authors of her generation, so this is a must-read for me. She's also a professor at Princeton, which is something I did not know before I started looking at this book. The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. This was published in the 80s, which I would consider part of the modern era, so this gets shoved into literary fiction rather than classics. I honestly don't even understand the description of this book, but it's about this woman who's in love with this man who loves her but also really likes cheating on her. And then the description descends into words which sort of mean something but kind of don't. Like, existence seems to lose its substance. Say what? Nicole from Nicole's Adventures in SFF says it's a book that's a lot of fun to discuss because of all the philosophy, so I will read the book and see what all the random words meant. A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. I have been trying to get my book club to read this with me for eons, but they're not biting, so I'm just gonna read this myself. It's apparently about a former punk rocker and record executive and I quote, passionate, troubled young woman, and a series of characters whose stories intertwine with theirs. Apparently, it's really a series of short stories that are all somehow connected. Maxwell from Well Done Books says it's a novel like no other, but Rincey from Rincey Reads didn't love it, but she didn't hate it. This does not have the best rating on Goodreads, so I'm curious why it seems so polarizing for people. Alright, finally, I need to read some Toni Morrison. I haven't yet because I never know where to start. I think I'll start with The Bluest Eye. Is that the right choice? This is her first novel. It's about a black girl who prays that her eyes will turn blue, like what was considered the ideal American child, blonde, blue-eyed, and then I think sad things happen. Some of my Goodreads friends had a hard time getting through because it's apparently so devastating, but a lot of them were like, guys, there is a reason this woman has won a Pulitzer Prize and a Nobel. She is amazing. Okay, this list is intense, but I'm hoping it's really worth it. Have you read any of these books? Can you give me any more insight? What book should I start with? And what do you think I'm missing off this list?